Welcome to the Not Just a Pony Ride podcast, presented to you by Hetra University. If you've landed here, you're probably passionate about how horses help people. This podcast is for anyone who helps others experience the benefits of horses or those who have experienced it themselves. If you're in the equine assisted services industry, we're here to help you. If you're here just to learn more, you're in the right place. Welcome to your community of like-minded people where you will hear stories, education, science, and explanations about how what we do is so much more than just a pony ride. And now, from the Hetra campus in Gretna, Nebraska, here's your host, occupational therapist and CTRI, Katie Ott.
Welcome back, everyone. Today I have a really cool episode on an organization that is local to us, but also can be found on a national level. And I really wanted to share this resource with you because I feel like it's important for us. The majority of the people listening right now either work for a nonprofit or own a nonprofit or are thinking about starting one, right? A therapeutic riding center or something of the sort. So I have Anne Hindery on. She is from the Nonprofit Association of the Midlands, which is actually a regional group that serves under a national organization. But Anne is the CEO, and she came to NAM in 2008. Has a really extensive background in nonprofits and philanthropy and community work, and she is here to tell us what NAM can offer nonprofits with their membership-based service. So listen in. She gives so many good tips about what we should be doing as nonprofits, how we should be keeping our ducks in a row, making sure that the legal side of things are in order. We're talking about the salary survey today. So how are you paying your staff, and is it competitive amongst other nonprofits in your region? She just had a lot of good nuggets of information for anyone who is in the nonprofit sector. So listen in and enjoy. Welcome to the show, Anne. Thanks for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Well, why don't we kick things off by you telling our listeners a little bit about you and where you work and what that organization does for folks.
So I'm Anne Hindery, and I am the CEO at the Nonprofit Association of the Midlands. I've been here since 2008. The Nonprofit Association of the Midlands, or NAM, we are a membership organization for nonprofits of all sizes and missions in Nebraska and Southwest Iowa. And so what we do is we do tons of training, technical assistance. Our job is to make our members' jobs easier, we like to say. So we offer some group benefits, some best practices, and really our job is to strengthen the collective voice, leadership, and capacity of nonprofit organizations across Nebraska and Western Iowa.
Very cool. We are super blessed to have your organization in our area. You have done a lot for us and helping us with a number of things from, setting our pay scale for our employees to grant opportunities, all kinds of things. So I'm excited to hear a little bit about more about what you guys can offer. So NAM is of the Midlands. So you said Nebraska and Southeast Iowa. Is there a more national foundation that you guys are underneath?
Yes, we are part of the National Council of Nonprofits. There's 40 some odd groups like us across the country. We all have a lot of similarities, like we all offer best practices programs, but there are some differences. So for example, we are the only one that I'm aware of that has a group retirement plan for our members and their employees. We just helped launch the Iowa Nonprofit Alliance last Thursday. So we're really excited, as I like to say. Thanks. I'm really happy that we have some neighbors that we can partner with. They'll be based out of Des Moines, but we'll still continue to serve and work together with them as the newest partner in the state association world.
Very good. So you said it's membership based. So is there like a fee associated with that? Kind of explain how that works.
You bet. Yeah, it is a fee, and it depends upon the budget size. So if you're really small and you have, say, less than a budget of $50,000, it's $50 a year. Mm. If you're large, like 25 million or more, it's $1,300 a year. Okay. Membership is good for all your board, all your staff, and your volunteers. There are a few caveats on that, but for the most part, if we have a training that's for free, all those folks can come for free. They can pay the member price. So yeah, it's very affordable.
Yeah, that's unique in that your organization can kind of pay the membership, and then there's so many people that can access the awesome services that you guys provide. Tell me a little bit, what are your, I'm sure you guys have a laundry list of benefits, of being a part of NAM, but tell me a little bit about what your most utilized, services are, or what the most common thing is that people access.
It's really all over the board, but I'll talk to you about some of the favorite ones. We have found that a lot of times a member may join for one reason and then not realize all the other products and services that we have. So maybe they wanted to join to make sure that they could get the half price rate for the Nonprofit Executive Institute, which is, so think Leadership Omaha for nonprofits.
Okay.
It's half price for members versus not yet members. A few years ago, we started something similar called the Rising Leaders Institute. We partner with the young nonprofit professionals to offer that. Again, both of those are cohort based. So it's really the advantage of peer learning and learning from subject matter experts in our field. They might want to figure out like, okay, maybe I just walked into a nonprofit, or I'm thinking about starting one. We then recommend them take the guidelines and principles assessment. The guidelines and principles, it's a best practice toolkit. It covers the 17 areas of running your nonprofit business. So things like human resources, board governance, volunteer management, finance, fundraising, all those different things. It's an online assessment, and it's actually free to any 501c3 in the state, whether they're a member or not yet member. And what's cool about that, well, two things. One, we've developed a companion Wikipedia. So as you're filling it out, because it's a lot of questions, not going to lie, you can go to the wiki and it'll take you right to the Nebraska Department of Revenue. So you can understand what taxes do nonprofits pay in Nebraska. And then it automatically sends you a report in those 12 areas that cover legal compliance, because you want to take care of that first if you're not, what's strongly recommended and what's recommended. So, for example, under board governance, you must have 3 board members in a state of Nebraska. So if you don't, fix that first. What's strongly recommended, don't pay your board members. That's a uniqueness between for-profit and nonprofit boards. Most of our boards are all volunteers. And then what's recommended, have term limits. So you get those fresh ideas on a regular basis in your organization. We also can connect people with different businesses that want to do business with nonprofits. We have a list of business partners on our website. We have, we just started, this is our 4th year, I believe, of offering financial management services. So we've hired the accounting talent that our members maybe can't afford, and it's a fee for service, and we will help you with your monthly or quarterly financials for your board's meetings, help you do grant tracking, help you set up your payroll. We'll basically help you with any finance related thing in your nonprofit, except we will never run your payroll for you. We won't do an audit, a review, or compilation. There's lots of great CPA firms out there for those. But that's really been successful, and our members really like it. We we have an employee assistance program. So we'll be starting the 5th year of that with Methodist Best Care. And we've negotiated a flat fee plus a per person fee for each of our members. And they have access to a quality employee assistance program. And so each employee or their family member gets up to 5 free visits per issue that maybe they're talking to someone. The last couple of years have been pretty challenging on all of our mental health. And so this is a great service that, employees can reach out just in time, set up time to go meet somebody in person or telehealth, like we're talking right now.
Right.
One of our most popular benefits is a retirement plan. About a dozen years ago, when the legislation was changing to make 403Bs like their 401k partners, we reached out, we chose a broker, worked with a couple of Nationwide and Benefit Plans, Inc., and now we give the plan documents to our members. We work with an ERISA attorney at QTech Rock to make sure those documents are up to date, constantly up to date. And each individual member organization gets to decide for their group, can they match or not yet match the employee contribution? When do people vest? We now have 92 nonprofit organizations and just under 40 million in assets. And we do an annual independent audit of the plan. I always say all the time, if we're going to attract smart people to the nonprofit sector, we better pay them enough to pay off their student loans, give them benefits and flexibility. And so this is one way of helping them do that. We also do it with our annual salary and benefits survey that you alluded to earlier in our
Yes,
conversation.
tell me more about that.
Yeah, it's a great tool. We send it out. Anyone can participate, whether you're a member or not. Of course, members will always get it cheaper if they participate. But if you participate and you're not yet a member, you'll still get a discount. And so we collect data on a variety of different job descriptions in the nonprofit sector. So administrative, specialty, like maybe behavioral health specialists, education, youth care workers, program managers, development directors, from A to Z. Nonprofits, we serve nonprofits of all sizes and missions. So it's a pretty broad range of information we're looking for. And we also ask questions about employee benefits. We're just finalizing that right now. It'll be available, and then we create a report, which should be available in early June. And each organization can use that tool to say, am I being competitive with what I'm paying my salary, my staff? I want to keep them on board. Especially right now, we're seeing a lot of workforce shortages in all parts of the economy, nonprofits included. So it's always cheaper to pay somebody what they're worth than to bring somebody in, and then you have all those training costs, and you never want to lose a good employee. We've also continued to ask about employee benefits, because while we definitely want to pay our employees fairly, we also know that with the cost of living increases that we saw the last couple of years, those aren't sustainable. So what are some great benefits to offer and maybe low cost benefits to offer? Like, we're trying to get a better understanding how many people can still work hybrid, or maybe they gave up their office. It doesn't work for every nonprofit. If you're a direct service, it's pretty hard not to do it unless you're physically there. And so that's a great tool. And it's also helpful. Boards of directors have to justify the executive compensation to the IRS. And so this is one tool. It's only one tool, but it's one good tool to help you do that.
So for us, we are obviously a equine-centered nonprofit, which is, I'm sure, not the most common nonprofit that you guys work with. So we have different things like our horse manager, or like even our volunteer coordinator, which I'm sure other nonprofits also have. But obviously there's a lot more that goes into what we do, and there's a lot of difference between those job titles across nonprofits. So how do you guys recommend that you use the salary tool, the salary survey tool, based on, maybe some differences within the same job position, or maybe the position isn't listed at all? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it totally does. We get that question quite a bit. I think we do a brief description of each job title. So a program director will probably have some common duties across no matter what area you're working in. And so you can look at that and kind of figure out where people plug. It's interesting, when you fill out the survey, you have to put each of your employees like in one position, like what skills do we have? But when you get the report, with very few exceptions, you have to say, I think this job description, they do that part of the job 25% of the time. This is a different job description that they may do 30% of the time till you get up to 100%. What I also recommend to people is don't just use NAM survey. Like, figure out who are some other equine groups in the region or states or country even, because I think there's only 2 that I'm aware of in our service area. And then go look at their 990s and do a comparison of 990s. Or even I do that for our counterparts across the country that I've talked about. I've also looked at what organizations, while nobody does exactly what NAM does, there are some similarities in what their staff does. And so I've reached out to a handful of them occasionally and just say, hey, would you mind telling me how much your operations director makes, and for this time frame, just in confidence, so that I can say, am I, being fair to the market? Do I need to make any market adjustments for the staff? So that's what I would recommend.
Yeah, that's a great option. I think that we're always trying to stay competitive, like you said, so we can retain our really good employees. And I think both salary and benefits has weight to that. So I'm glad that you guys kind of look at both ends of that spectrum. Definitely.
This episode of the Not Just a Pony Ride podcast is sponsored in part by
Equiforce. Equiforce is a database that allows you to track every facet of your organization, from horse, donor, and volunteer management to scheduling, grant tracking, incident reports, and tracking participant progress too. This is not a one-size-fits-all setup. Instead, Equiforce personally works with you to learn how your facility functions and takes note of your specific terminology so that they can create a unique system to match the needs of your organization. And of course, Equiforce provides an ongoing training and support so that your database can grow with you. Visit them at www.equiforce.com. That's EQUI-FORCE.com.
Thanks. Yeah, I think the workforce challenges are going to be with us for a while. And we just have to make sure we can do all we can. Related to that, we also have a career center where our members can post jobs for free. Not yet members can pay $100 to do that. And that is the most visited page on our website. People are always looking to say what's out there for me. We do, as we can afford it, we do produce an economic report for nonprofits in Nebraska. So we have the data to show that not only does every Nebraskan benefit from a nonprofit every single day, 1 in 11 employees work for a 501c3. That's more than 90,000 Nebraskans. So nonprofits, we really we are the community fabric all across our state. I like to say nonprofits partner with government to offer services in a more nimble and cost-effective manner. And we partner with the private sector to offer services to their employees and their families. So it's really, that three-legged stool or triangle. So that's, I think, really important. Recently, in the last couple of years, we developed a executive transition toolkit. We've seen a lot of changes, across the economy, but definitely in the sectors. You've seen different CEOs moving here, maybe retiring. And so we have a toolkit that people can buy to help boards of directors manage that as they go forward. And then, because it's complicated, and a lot of it depends upon where you are in your nonprofit life cycle. And then we've also developed something that we call Board Masters, which is board training specifically for nonprofit boards. Because unless you've been on a really good or a really bad board, a lot of times you don't know the difference.
Right.
And then, we've also offered training. We're wrestling with what do we do hybrid? What do we do in person? What do we only do online? Training in those 12 areas of guidelines and principles. So when you get that report, I do need board training. Or I need finance training. And here's, we have a series in all those areas that we work on.
So it sounds like we have there's a lot of centers that, are just getting started or things like that, where they don't know where to start with all of this, right? So we have in our sector, it's like people have this love and passion for horses and they want to help people with horses. And they're like, great, I'm going to do that. Now what? And you have to figure out the finances and the board and all of this stuff, that the legalities, all the things that go into running a nonprofit. And I just feel like you guys are a one-stop shop for how do I get started and what do I need to be doing? Like you said, during your, whatever life cycle stage your nonprofit is in, you can always grow in that side of things.
Yeah. And that's where, our guidelines and principles, and we were the 17th state to implement that. And so it's really a tool, no matter whether you're just starting out or, we recommend people do it every year because your needs will change. You wouldn't start a business in the private sector, or as I like to say, you wouldn't buy a Dairy Queen because you like ice cream. But we have a lot of people that are passionate about something that start a nonprofit, but you want to make sure that you're doing it right because nonprofits they're not your own business. The board of director governs it. They oversee the executive director. The executive director oversees everyone else. But you also, as you grow and change, then there's certain legal things that you have to do. Things that you have to do if you're taking donations and what types of donations from different funders. So you really want to have eyes wide open there so you can make sure that you're doing things right.
Mm-hmm. So what's your advice for folks who are listening that aren't from, Nebraska or Iowa? How do they find a resource like yours if they would like to?
They can go to the National Council's website, which is councilofnonprofits.org, and they have on their homepage, they have a map of the United States, and you can click on there and see if the jargon is state association, and it'll take you right to like our website. And then some of the states that maybe they're not a full state association because there are specific requirements because there can only be one in a state. Then you'll see the list of state allies, and at least it's someplace where you can get started. But they also have some great resources at the National Council of Nonprofits.
Right. I think it's important to be looking within our own regions because what an executive director gets paid in Nebraska will be different from California, will be, and same thing with cost, right? So like for us, hay cost is different here than it is in California or whatever it is. So looking within your region at what things are costing and what people are being paid, I think is really important.
Yes, and there are some groups like in the Pacific Northwest, all of those nonprofit state associations, they do a regional salary and benefit survey. Oh, cool. So I'd love to explore down the road, like now that we have someone in Iowa, the Nonprofit Alliance, maybe down the road we can do a regional one as well. Mm-hmm. We also, that made me think of, we also work a lot in public policy and advocacy. Mm-hmm. And so while we focus a lot on Nebraska, and we've been tracking the ARPA funds and the CARES Act funds and all of the federal relief and rescue funds since the pandemic, and are really advocating that nonprofits deserve a lot of those funds because we're the ones providing many of those services and taking care of communities, and we'll continue to do that. We also, the National Council of Nonprofits helps us with national issues. So, for example, there's a bill that's introduced in the Senate to bring back the charitable deduction above the line for those of us who maybe don't itemize their taxes. Mm-hmm. During the pandemic, you could do that briefly. There's moved to, hey, let's make that permanent because that's reaching a lot of audiences. Also, we signed on a bill to help increase the volunteer mileage reimbursement rate. I don't think it's been raised since like the 1970s. It's 14 cents a mile. Wow. For volunteers. And that's a lot of time and effort for people that are, giving their time and energy to your cause. We'd like to make it the IRS reimbursable rate that they recommend for businesses. We hear a lot, nonprofits should be run like a business. Well, that's true, but we should also be treated like one as well, as it comes to that. So we love working with our partners, but then also hearing from our members across the state.
Right. And I think too that there are a lot of things we wouldn't even know are an option to us without, the work of organizations like NAM and being plugged in with you guys and knowing that that is an option to us. Yes, we would like to take a part in that and that type of thing, especially when it comes to all of those, taxes and organizational administrative type things.
And, one thing that during the CARES Act that came out with, and I know so many nonprofits got the Paycheck Protection Program loans that then turned into grants after so much time. That was the first time in history that the Small Business Administration included nonprofits. So wow. By working with our national partners and the power of, the National Council of Nonprofits is the largest nonprofit group in the country. And then they work with other partners, or they have the most members, I should say, more than 25,000 members. And then they work with other national groups to help that go forward and make sure that our voice is heard.
Yes, I love that. So what do you think that nonprofit run, people who run nonprofits and own them, what should they be doing? Maybe what benefits do you have that, you think people should be accessing more, or, what's your advice from that front?
I think at a minimum, take the guidelines and principles. And that's really, I think of that as a roadmap for you're really small, but as you grow and improve, then you'll be aware and have your eyes wide open. Like I'm really constantly striving for continuous quality improvement. The guidelines and principles is a tool to get you there. Sign up for our emails. We try to be really clear in the subject line. We're a small staff. There's only 9 of us. And so that's how we communicate so much through our emails. By being a member of NAM, you're automatically a member of the National Council of Nonprofits. So then you can get those advocacy emails as well. And then it depends on your organization. If you have staff, see if you can offer them benefits. Maybe you can't afford health insurance, but we can connect you with insurance brokers who can help you understand how to get them on the exchange and maybe give them a health insurance stipend. Join the retirement plan at NAM. It's the most affordable plan out there. It averages around $100 an employee per year. Plus, you have the peace of mind of knowing that it's being professionally managed by a group called Cap Trust, and we do an annual audit. So boards of directors like that. Maybe look at the employee assistance program, look at the training calendar. If somebody's trying to look for professional development, we encourage everybody to fund professional development opportunities, whether it's signing up to be in Leadership Lincoln or Leadership Nebraska. Those are smart things to do. We have leadership development as well, to really make sure your board is trained and educated on their roles and responsibilities. I think, it's been an interesting couple of years, but I think 2023 and 2024, boards of directors are going to need to be a lot more engaged as we figure out the economy. We've seen such a mixed recovery in the economy. And so we're going to have to stay alert and stay tuned. And boards need to be engaged for that. So those are some of the things I would say. And we also do 2 conferences a year. So come to that, bring your board members. We do a large one in November at La Vista Conference Center. And then we do one in the spring out in Kearney at the Eustis Conference Center with our community foundation partners out there.
Very cool. Do other regional nonprofit associations also do conferences, or is that unique to the Midlands?
No, we all do at least one.
Very good.
I know at the launch of the Iowa Nonprofit Alliance, they announced a conference, later this year. And I forget where, so you could edit that part out. But yeah, we all put on at least one convening a year for our members.
Great. If I could put the link, I'll put the link to the Nonprofit Association of the Midlands into their website in the show notes. But maybe I'll also put the direct link to that survey that you're talking about. So if people want to go on and do that, they can.
Well, the salary and benefit survey is closed for this year.
Oh, it is. Okay.
It's we open that up around St. Patrick's Day, and then it's open for about 4 to 5 weeks. But I'll let you know if we get the link to the newest report. I'll share that with you, and then you can put that in there, because I know we have a meeting in the next week or so to kind of finalize the report itself.
Awesome. All right. So people can stay tuned for that. All right. And is there anything else you want to add about your wonderful organization and how it can help others?
I just think that all of us are smarter than one of us. And so by coming together and really have that power, we can learn from each other. We can understand what's going on. We can see how the work one nonprofit does connects with what the work that another one does, and just making sure that we're improving the quality of life, because that is what makes Nebraska such a great place to live, work, and raise our families.
That is so true. Couldn't have said it better myself. Well, Miss Anne, we always end the podcast with the same question for the season, different seasons. And this year for season 3, it is, if you could get on the phone and call your younger professional self and give her some advice, what would you say?
I think I would say 2 things to her. I would say, don't stress about your next career move. Everything works out as it's supposed to. I've had a very fortunate career, started in local and then federal government, moved to philanthropy, and then came to NAM. And it's each job and all those skills I learned built upon each other to help me to get I'm wearing now. And I love my job. I'm not direct service, but I feel like I make a difference every single day. And then the other thing, and I might text versus call, because I'd send it to voicemail, is to put more money in your retirement account than you think you can afford. Even if you just increase it by $5 or $10, I'm a good 10 to 15 years away from that time. And I'm like, ooh, it's going to be here before you know it, because time does go by fast. So, and take care of yourself. Life's too short.
Yes, those are all good nuggets, especially in talking to nonprofits who may not have, things like retirement benefits available. If you don't, that's a really good reminder to do that for sure.
For sure.
Well, thank you. I know you're a busy lady, so I appreciate you sitting down with me today. And like I said, I'll link the website and all of that in the show notes below. So go click on that and check it out, or find the organization that's local in your area.
Great. Well, thank you. I've enjoyed our conversation
Yes.
and we'll be in touch.
Sounds good. Thanks, Anne.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to another episode. Until the next one launches, stay connected to our community by joining the Not Just a Pony Ride Facebook group. There, we share exclusive educational content, answer your questions, and review new and exciting developments for the EAS community. Don't forget, if you have suggestions for future episode topics or a lead on a great guest that you think our audience would enjoy, click on the link in the show notes or visit us at hetrauniversity.org. This podcast is presented by Hetra University, an educational arm of the Heartland Equine Therapeutic Riding Academy. Hetra University's mission is to provide high-quality educational offerings to our participants and the EAS community. If you'd like to help us work toward our mission, you can make a donation by visiting us online at hetra.org. Again, I can't thank you all enough for helping Hetra change lives one stride at a time.